You're watching Mags on Media and brand and campaign news from around the world now. In a move that's been called by many a giant step backwards for women, US retail giant Walmart has caved into pressure from conservative lobbying groups and has announced it's going to be removing Cosmopolitan magazines from its checkout aisles, even though the magazine will still be available elsewhere in its 5,000-odd stores. The retailer claims the move is to protect minors from sexually explicit material. And Londoners getting a fright when 84 male figures appeared on top of broadcaster ITV's building. It turned out, though, to be an art installation by the NGO Calm to highlight the fact that 84 men commit suicide in the UK every single week. And many international brands hopping on the April Fool's bandwagon, like Burger King, which introduced a bogus chocolate hamburger.
More and more pedestrians engage in distracted walking each day.
And Honda claiming to launch a Sixth Sense app.
Introducing Honda Sixth Sense, a revolutionary new way to stay safe whenever you're mobile. Honda Sixth Sense includes a number of innovative features. Much like lane departure warnings found in our vehicles, its sidewalk departure warning detects when you're veering off the path. Obstacles are everywhere, which is why the 360 collision system detects threats from all angles. And now upgrade to Sixth Sense Premium. Just select a contact in the personal avoidance system. It will then track the cellular signal of an unwanted presence and reroute you accordingly. Honda Sixth Sense, creating safe mobility solutions.
And this little gem from the brand Petco, who takes their customers' love for their animals to a completely different level.
Homo sapiens and animal friends, I'm Topher Brophy. I'm fortunate enough to bear an uncanny resemblance to my son Rosenberg, which has helped me gain confidence and make other people happy. I've longed to give other parents the same experience, which led me to a concept I developed with Petco that I want to share with you today. Welcome to Beautiful Bond. Starting March 29th, parents can reserve their appointment to have a team of professionals make them over to look like their animal children. Choose from services such as hair coloring and styling to theatrical makeup, or upgrade to the Topher Brophy package and have a professional photographer capture your matching moment forever. Spots will fill up fast, so reserve your appointment online at beautifulbondsalon.com starting March 29th.
Now, to say that the Australian cricket team's brand is in crisis is an understatement, and it gives me no pleasure to say that. The ball tampering crisis has left its reputation in shreds, and most of all, I think, fan trust has been stripped. But the sorry saga, I think, is also a useful primer for any brand in trouble. Well-known ad man John Davenport, who I've seen many years ago in the stands at the Wanderers, in fact, on many occasions, has weighed in with some useful advice in a blog on the Huffington Post. John, a very warm welcome. Good to see you again. First of all, is it possible to try and quantify how badly damaged this Australian brand has become as a result of this?
It really is hard to quantify it, because it just kept on getting worse and worse. They'd try and do some damage control, and then by doing so, they'd manage with almost incredible skill to make a bad situation much worse, and then make a very bad situation even worse.
So for any brand, you need a crisis management plan. And I think, as a sidebar here, even sports brand need that as well. They know that at some point something's going to go wrong. But here's the question. I wonder, again, as far as the Australian cricket team is concerned, and other brands as well, whether in the heat of the moment, whether they actually realise about the long-term consequences of a detrimental action.
I really don't think they do. And it's amazing how much effort people put into building up brands. And then when there's a crisis, that equity just gets thrown away in a heartbeat.
So the players themselves, do do you think, and again, maybe it's for all sports teams, do you think they see the sports team as a brand?
I don't think they do for a second. And if they did, I think their behaviour would be very different. I mean, what was just amazing was how the Australian cricket team and Cricket Australia really didn't do any of the things that you're supposed to do when the hits the fan.
And that's exactly what happened. You've got 3 useful pieces of advice in terms of that. But how should sportsmen be compelled to see the team that they're playing for as a brand? It's difficult to teach someone about that, particularly if they're not in that media and marketing space. But they have to be, don't they?
Yeah, and I think they do have the knowledge. They just need to be made aware of it.
Yeah.
I mean, they all have their own social media profiles. They all have lucrative, they used to have lucrative endorsement deals. So they are aware of how brands operate in the modern world. It needs to be really re-emphasized to them that their behavior really impacts on an overall bigger brand, which is, in this case, Cricket Australia.
It's even bigger than that, I would suggest. It's even the Australian nation brand that has been affected. So before we get to some of the bits of advice that you put out, do you think in time this damage will be prepared? I mean, sports fans are fickle, but they also are, particularly in the Australian case, I think they're fairly loyal, aren't they?
Absolutely. I mean, they'll win it back, but to some extent, outside of their core base of Australian fans, I do think it's going to take a very long time. I think the Australian fans will take them back quickly, but I think broader than that, there's long-term damage.
So let's talk about point 2 before we get to point 1 and 3, because I think this is the most important point that you make. You have to be, when you make a mistake, you have to be genuinely sorry.
Absolutely.
In what respect were the Australians not genuinely sorry, in your opinion?
I think they were terribly, terribly sorry that they were caught, but they weren't that sorry.
That's terrible.
And you can just see by their actions. First up, their first response was a lie about how they were just trying to get the ball changed by using tape. And anyone who knows anything about cricket, that seemed absurd, because that isn't how you get a ball changed. What you do is that's how you get a ball to swing more, which is clearly what they were doing. So they obviously weren't sorry at all because they were lying.
So you have to be absolutely heartfelt in your apology.
Absolutely.
And even before that, don't tell the lie.
Yeah.
Okay, because it's more difficult to spin yourself out of it. The second point that you make is you have to get ahead of the story. In public relations terms, what does that mean? Well,
it's terribly important that as you have to control the story, you have to control the information.
What does that mean, controlling the story?
So that means you need to know exactly what has happened. You need to have 100% of the information. You can't have information leaking out from other sources when you are trying to give a comprehensive response. So as soon as you know exactly what's going on, then you can give a comprehensive explanation and you can move forward.
Let me come back at you at that, because I think I see a flaw in this argument which is difficult. One, given the power of social media these days, it is almost impossible to contain a leak. The second thing is the speed at which social media is moving. Often you have to make a statement before you've gathered all the facts. It's difficult to overcome that.
Managing crises is much more difficult than it was now in the era of social media. So I'm not saying that you need to plug leaks or anything, but you need to find out as quickly as possible. And now it's even more important in the era of social media to find out exactly what happened immediately.
And we're not talking about days. This is hyper-accelerated now. We're talking about a matter of hours. So by the end of that day, they should have gathered the facts as quickly as that.
Their primary goal at that point should have been to find out absolutely everything that happened, so they can then start repairing their relationship with the consumer.
And finally, fix the problem. Fair point. How do you know when the problem's fixed?
That's a good question. I mean, I think, and that's why you have to know exactly what happened, because you can't start fixing your problem until you have all the facts. So in this case, Darren Lehman, there was a very weird grey area. Sorry, he's the coach. Very weird grey area where he didn't speak to the media at all. No one knew what he knew. Anyone who knows cricket knows that Darren Lehman pretty much knows everything that goes on in the Australian cricket team. So that made it terribly hard for Australia, as I think they all made it harder for themselves.
And John Davenport, the only certainty with something like this is it will happen again. There's no doubt about that. Thank you very much for joining us.
Jeremy.
So some useful advice for the Australian cricket team, if of course they're listening, but watching, probably not, though they have more important things on their plate. Mags on Media, coming up, a local brand making great strides in the artificial intelligence space. That's next when we continue.